All right, if you haven't already signed in to the Texas Assessment Management System, we need to try to do that right now. So you're going to go to the Texas Assessment Management System and then go to For Administrators and then go all the way down the bottom of the page. And right here in the middle is where we usually click on to go to TELPAS. So you should be familiar with that right there. But today we're going to go to STAAR Assessment Management System because we're now talking about the STAAR. And your username and password is different for STAAR Assessment Management System, or ETS, than it was for Pearson. So in Pearson, it was 220905 first name dot last name. In STAAR, it's your first initial, your last name, and then some numbers. So if you can't log in, just let me know and I'll help you with that. But I'm going to go ahead and log in myself. And then the first thing we're going to talk about is how to look up a user. So in case you have trouble logging in, this is how you would, someone has trouble logging in, this is how you would help them. So right up here is our menu, and we're going to go to Structure and Users, and then View and Edit. And if you, Sarah, are having trouble logging in, you can put your last name right there and hit search. And then you see we have Sarah Smith. So your username is smith218 and you're active. So your account is good to go. If there was something we needed to change about your account, we could click the pencil in the Actions column. And then we could go and make the changes. If we needed to change your location or your role or whatever needs to be changed. We can also reset credentials and deactivate a user here. Once we made the changes, we want to update the user and then that will save. Okay, there's another way to look at your users. So that's how to look at an individual user. But if you want to see all the people from your campus, you put your campus number right here in organization, and then you hit search. And then you can see everyone who has some sort of rights in the system here on your campus. And if you need to make changes, you can again click the blue pencil in the Action column and make changes. If you want to download that list, you can click right here and download search results, and that'll give it to you in a different format where you can print it off. So that's two ways you can look for users. You can either search for them individually, or you can look at who all is signed up for your campus. If you have a lot of people that you're going to be using for testing at your campus, you may want to upload a list. So to upload a list, you can go here to upload, and then it gives you all of the directions and the fields you need. It also gives you a template to use to upload your users for. You don't want to make any changes to the template other than adding the information, but don't change any of the columns. And then you're going to choose the file that you created and then upload the file. And that'll create an account for all of your users if you have a lot of users to add. If you just have one or two, you can go here to add and add them manually. So you put in all of the fields that have the red asterisk beside them. You put in your organization, and then a list of roles will come up and you add the role, and then you save it, and now you have that test administrator at your campus. Several people in the last session asked the difference between a session administrator and a test administrator. We want to select test administrator for anyone who's going to be a test administrator on your campus. The session administrator gives them more rights than a test administrator, and they don't need all of those rights. So we just want to give them a test administrator right. Okay, remember that was under structure and users. View and edit is how we went to search for them. Add is how we added one manually, and then upload is how we added a list. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to practice those things. And while you're practicing, I'm going to show you the PowerPoint that we have for you. It's all of the steps that I just went over in the live site. It has the written directions, and then it has the picture directions. So if you forget some steps on doing any of these activities that we do, you can come back to this PowerPoint and it will give you those steps again. I'm going to put the link to the PowerPoint in the chat so that you can download it if you would like to. And I'm also going to put the link to the STAAR Assessment Management User Guide in the chat so you can download that. It's kind of lengthy, so you may just want to download it and keep it on your desktop. You may not want to print it out, but you can have it and it will be a good guide for you. All right, so far we have searched for a user, we have added a user, and I gave you the extra tip about adding a bunch of users. Now we're going to search for students. So we're going to go back to our online system and we're going to go to Students, View and Edit. And then we're going to select our administration. Right now we're doing 2021 April STAAR 4 and 7 writing. And then the best way to search for a student is to put in their PEIMS ID. If you have their last name and it's a unique last name, you can search for them that way, but it's really best to use their PEIMS ID. It's also best to just use their PEIMS ID. Sometimes if you put in their PEIMS ID and their last name, you're not going to get a student come up. So if you have a PEIMS ID, just put in the PEIMS ID and hit search. And that one didn't render me a student. Okay, so I want to look at Alicia right here. I need her to test online for me for this administration. So I'm going to click the pencil in the actions column. I'm going to go down the screen and this is her profile. If I need to change any demographics for Alicia, this is where I'm going to do it. For example, if I needed to add the new to Texas field for her, I can change demographics right here. And then once I change them, I'm going to update so that they'll save. If I need to change something about her test, I'm going to change from the profile tab to the test tab. And on the test tab, when I go down the screen, I can see that Alicia is scheduled to take the STAAR on paper. If I want to change that and help Alicia take the STAAR online, I can change it to online. And when I change it to online, you see the PMPs pop up. Then I can select the PMPs. So whichever personal needs and preferences Alicia needs, I'm going to select them here. And when it was paper, I didn't have that option to select. Now, if you're elementary school, you also have the language right here. You can see that it's grayed out for middle school. They can't select it, but elementary, you'll also be able to select the language. It's very important this year that we get the language and the PMPs correct, because you remember we talked about in the STAAR session that if they're not correct, the student is going to have to get out of the session. We're going to have to call ETS and get them to reset the test for the student. You're going to have to fix it, print them a new test ticket, and then the student will be able to get back in, but the student will have to start over in the beginning. So we don't want that to have to happen. So we want to make sure these things are correct before we ever start. Now, one way that you can move students from being in your online list, if you don't want them in your online list, is to move them from online to paper, and that way you won't see them in your online list. And I'll show you your online list in just a minute. Okay, so that's how we change a student's testing history. So another way to look up students is on the same tab, Students, View and Edit. Select the administration, put in your organization, and hit search. And this is going to pop up all of the students that are registered right now for STAAR. This is not necessarily students who are taking the test online. These are all of the students taking the test. So if I wanted to make changes again, I would click the blue pencil and I could go back in and change demographics or testing information. So these are all of the students. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you how to look up just the students you have online. But this is a way to get your entire list of students. And if you wanted to download that search results, you could do it right here. Okay, now going back to our PowerPoint, we've searched for a student. We've added and edited a student. We don't have anyone here in EOC, but I'll go ahead and show you that just in case there's someone who's listening to this tape after it's recorded and needs to know. It's pretty much the same. For the test administration, we're just going to select an EOC course and a campus that has EOCs. And then here's my list of students that are registered to test. I'm going to click the blue pencil. Over here on the test tab, I see that the student is registered to take English 2 on paper. To change this student to online, I just click online, and then I can select the PMPs right here and update. If I need this student to also take English 1, I can add English 1 right here by clicking Add Another Test. Okay, so now we know how to use the same features for an EOC. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is how to register a student. So if we can't find the student here under View and Edit, the next place we're going to look is under Register. So we're going to go to Students and Register. Select an administration, put in a PEIMS ID, and click Add Student. Now a student should pop up and you click Yes, Continue. You have to select their grade and the campus, and then continue, and you'll be able to bring that student over to your campus. And if you can't find the student in View and Edit or in Register, just email one of us at the office and we'll help you find them. Okay, now we're going to look at our campus sessions. So to do that, we're going to go to Online and Manage. We're going to select the administration, select the subject, select the grade, and select our campus. And then hit search. We can see from the list that we have 89 students that are going to take English 1 for this campus. And you can see that this campus has divided their students into groups. And I'll show you in a second how to make groups if you'd like to. They have moved their students that are withdrawn into a withdrawn group so that they don't show up in their group list, but they don't actually delete them or move them out, because we know sometimes students come back. So they just put them in another group So they're here if they need them, but they're not going to show up in their group that they're testing with. So this is their main group that they're testing with. To see the actual students there, we're going to click on the magnifying glass. And then if you move down the screen, you can see a list of all of the students that are scheduled to take English 1. If you go to the right of the screen, you can see the list of PMPs. So each student that has a personal needs and preference selected will show up here. And this is a good way to check to make sure that the student has the PMP before you go in and print their test ticket, because we want to make sure they have them before we print test tickets. Once the test has started, this will change the response count. You'll be able to see how many items the student has responded to. And this action list will have some different icons in here so that you can print test tickets and change the attributes of a test. They're not there right now because it's too far out for the test, but they will be there later. If you'd like to filter this list by all the students who have a certain PMP, you can do that by clicking that personal needs and preference and filter. And then you should see a list of just the students that have text to speech. So if you want to make sure, then you can go ahead and do that. And that's another way to check your PMPs. But this is the list of all of your students who are registered to test online. If you have a student that doesn't appear here, but you need to test them online, go back to the students, view and edit, and make sure they're scheduled to take an online test. If you have a student here, let's say David does not need to take an online test, we've moved him to paper, we can go to students, view and edit, and change this test from online to paper, and then we won't see him here in our list anymore. Okay, I'm going to give you a second to go ahead and try looking for your list of students. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is create a group. So remember how I showed you that they had several groups created for this campus? We're going to make a group. You don't have to make groups in ETS system. Remember, in Pearson, we have to set up sessions, but in ETS, we don't have to. But sometimes groups are helpful, especially if you're testing a lot of kids. So you go to groups. So this is online testing and groups. And then you put in the administration, your campus, and you can view your groups that you have set up. So this is the groups that they have set up at this campus. Sorry. If you want to create another group, we go right here to create group. We select the administration, select the campus, and put the group name. And hit continue. And then we select a subject. And then we see all the students pop up here over in the left. To move a student into our new group, we simply check beside their name and click Add to Group. And now we have the student in our group. If we decide we don't want the student in the group, we check beside their name and remove. So we're going to move all the students that we want in the extra group over here. And then once we have them all, we're going to save the group. So groups are very easy to do. if you want to do them. You don't have to do them. And here are the directions in the PowerPoint for how to do them. Okay, we're going to look at how to manage online test sessions. Remember how I told you that you would see some icons when we were looking at the sessions? These are the icons that you will see when you're looking at the sessions. So you can either print a test ticket, you can change test attributes, or you can click the do not report if there's some reason you don't want to report that student score. So the same place that we were looking at before in the actions column, but it was blank when we were looking at it, these are the icons that will be there. The same place we were looking at, above it, we'll have a button to let you print all the test tickets. It's not there right now, but it will be. You're going to go the same place. Remember, we saw the list of students. Right here is where you're going to be able to print all the test tickets when it's made active. Okay, the last thing we're going to show you is the online test status report. This is a report that will show you which students have submitted their test, which students were marked absent, which students were marked other, all of those score codes, so that you have a list of all of your students who tested online. So this is what it will look like when you're finished. To print it, we're going to go to Reports, Online Testing, and then I have a district test status report. You don't have that. You have the campus test status report. So you're going to put in your campus, select an administration, and download. And it's going to give you a list of all of your students. That you have for testing online. It's also going to show you their PMPs, again, another way to check. And it's going to show you their status or score code. So we have shown you directions in the PowerPoint, and then we also have a standalone handout for directions on how to take this Excel file and update it into this report so that you just get the fields that you need. And it will be very helpful when you come to check-in so we can reconcile your numbers. So that is everything I have in the PowerPoint. If you would like to go back and try any of the things, and I will help you, or if you have any questions, feel free to unmute your mic and ask any questions that you have.